I never thought I'd be sitting in my Honda Civic at 58 years old in a McDonald's parking lot, trying to figure out where I was going to sleep that night. The smell of French fries mixed with the musty odor of my old car, and I couldn't help but laugh bitterly at how fast everything had fallen apart. My name is Ben Turner, and 3 months ago I had my own electrical contracting business. Turner Electric had been my life for 30 years. I built it from nothing, working 12-hour days, missing family dinners, but always providing for my wife Patty and our son Tim. Now Patty's been gone 10 years, and Tim, well, that's why I'm sitting here counting the $47.20 in my wallet. The collapse happened so fast I'm still trying to process it. A commercial job went bad when the building's wiring caught fire. Turns out the previous contractor had done some illegal work I didn't catch during inspection. The client sued everyone involved, and somehow I became the primary target. My insurance company found some technicality in the fine print about pre-existing conditions to deny coverage, and suddenly I was facing a $1 million judgment I couldn't pay. I'd always been careful about my work. 30 years in the trade, and I'd never had a major incident. But this one wasn't even my fault. The fire started in a section I'd advised them to completely rewire, but they wanted to save money and kept the old system. When their building burned down, they needed someone to blame, and the contractor with the deepest pockets usually gets the target on their back. The legal bills ate through my savings first. Then the business assets got seized. The house followed 6 weeks later. 30 years of perfect credit history didn't matter when the numbers turned red. The bank didn't care about my track record or the fact that I'd never missed a payment. Numbers on a spreadsheet don't have feelings, and mine were all showing losses. I tried to fight it, hired lawyers, filed appeals. But when you're bleeding money fighting a system designed to favor whoever has the most resources, you run out of options fast. The stress was killing me. I wasn't sleeping, wasn't eating right. Some mornings I'd wake up and forget for just a second that everything was gone, then reality would hit like a punch to the gut. That's how I ended up at Tim's door on a Tuesday afternoon, holding one suitcase and what was left of my pride. My son lives in a beautiful colonial house in the suburbs, the kind of place I dreamed about when he was little. Back then, we'd drive through neighborhoods like this on Sundays after church, and I'd point to the big houses and tell him that's what hard work could get you. Now here I was, proof that hard work wasn't always enough. His wife Amanda has expensive taste, and it shows in every detail of their perfect home. The landscaping alone probably costs more than most people make in a month. Everything is arranged with magazine precision, like they're always ready for a photo shoot. Dad, Tim opened the door looking surprised, even though I'd called ahead. I thought you were coming this weekend. Plans changed, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Hope now's okay. Before he could answer, Amanda appeared behind him. I'd never been her favorite person, but the look she gave me that day was different. It wasn't just dislike, it was like I was something embarrassing that had shown up uninvited. She was dressed like she was heading to a business meeting, which at 3 p.m. on a Tuesday probably meant lunch with friends who also didn't work regular jobs. "Ben," she said, my name sounding like a problem she needed to solve. "I was hoping I could stay for a few days," I said, "just until I get back on my feet." "I won't be any trouble." Tim shifted uncomfortably, and I could see him reading Amanda's mood like a weather report. My son had always been a good kid, but somewhere along the way he'd learned to prioritize other people's comfort over family loyalty. Maybe that's what happens when you marry someone who sees everything in terms of social capital and networking opportunities. "The thing is, Dad," Tim said, "not meeting my eyes, Amanda and I are trying to build our professional image in the community. Having you stay here right now, with everything that's happened with your business." He didn't finish the sentence, but I got the message loud and clear. I was a liability, a reminder of failure that might tarnish their carefully constructed image of success. "I see," I said quietly. "It's not that we don't want to help," Amanda jumped in, her voice taking on that fake, concerned tone people use when they're about to deliver bad news wrapped in false kindness. "It's just that Tim's up for a promotion at the corporate office, and we need to be careful about our family brand right now." Family brand? Like I was some kind of toxic asset that might hurt their chances of moving up in the world. I wondered when family became something you managed instead of something you belonged to. "There's a Hampton Inn about 10 minutes from here," Tim said finally. "It's not too expensive. I'd already checked their website on my phone. $95 a night. 3 nights would wipe out most of what I had left, and that was assuming I could find work fast enough to afford longer." "That sounds perfect," I lied. I hugged Tim goodbye, and for a moment he held on a little longer than usual. I thought maybe he was going to change his mind. Tell Amanda that his father needed help, and that was that. Instead, he patted my back and said, "Take care of yourself, Dad. We'll catch up soon." Walking back to my car, I heard their front door close with a soft click that sounded final. I sat in their driveway for a few minutes, watching their house through the windshield. The lawn was perfect, not a blade of grass out of place. The flower beds looked like something from a home and garden magazine. Through the living room window, I could see Amanda moving around, probably already forgetting I'd been there. I thought about the kid Tim used to be. How he'd follow me around job sites wearing a tiny hard hat I'd bought him. How he'd beam with pride when I taught him to use a level, or when he'd hand me the right tool without being asked. He used to call my work building dreams because that's how I explained it to him. When did that admiration turn into embarrassment? The Hampton Inn was full. So was the Holiday Inn Express, and the 2 budget motels I tried after that. Some kind of medical conference in town had every room booked solid through the weekend. The desk clerk at the last place actually laughed when I asked if they had anything available. By 8 p.m., I was parked behind a 24-hour diner, trying to figure out how to sleep in a Honda without looking like a complete failure. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd spent my entire career wiring houses for other people, making sure they had light and power and comfort, and now I couldn't find a place to plug in my phone charger. The diner was one of those old-school places with checkered floors and red vinyl booths. I went in and ordered coffee and a piece of pie I couldn't really afford, just to sit somewhere with decent lighting and use the restroom. The waitress was probably in her 60s, and she kept refilling my cup without being asked. I guess she could tell I was in no hurry to leave. "Rough night?" she asked during one of her rounds. "You could say that." She nodded like she'd heard that story before. "Well, coffee's fresh until midnight if you need to sit a while." That's when my phone rang. The number wasn't one I recognized, and after the day I'd had, part of me wanted to let it go to voicemail. But when you're down to your last $40, you answer every call, hoping it might be work. Ben Turner speaking. "Mr. Turner, my name is Jeff Morrison. I'm calling on behalf of my employer, Mr. Richard Sullivan. He would very much like to meet with you tomorrow morning if you're available." I shifted in the booth, suddenly aware that everyone could hear my conversation. "I'm sorry, who?" "Richard Sullivan," Jeff repeated patiently. "He's requested a meeting with you at 10 a.m. tomorrow. It's quite urgent, I'm afraid. The name meant nothing to me. In 30 years of electrical work, you meet a lot of people. But Richard Sullivan wasn't ringing any bells. Maybe he was a former client I'd forgotten, though I usually remembered names pretty well. "I think you might have the wrong Ben Turner," I said. "I don't know anyone by that name." There was a pause, then the sound of papers rustling. "Benjamin James Turner, born April 3, 1966, previously owner of Turner Electric." My stomach dropped. "Nobody should know that much about me unless they were a lawyer or a bill collector. How do you know about my business? Mr. Sullivan has been quite specific about wanting to meet with you. He's not in the best of health, and time is precious. I can tell you that he's prepared to compensate you for your time. Would $500 be sufficient for a 1-hour meeting? $500 more than I'd seen in weeks." I thought about my $47, about sleeping in my car, about the look on Tim's face when he'd suggested a motel like it was doing me a favor. "What does he want?" I asked. "I'm afraid I can't discuss the details over the phone, but I assure you it's legitimate. Mr. Sullivan is quite well known in the business community. Would you prefer I send you some references?" I looked around the diner. The waitress was wiping down tables, getting ready for the night shift changeover. A trucker at the counter was reading a newspaper, and a couple of late shift workers were sharing a basket of fries. Normal people living normal lives, not sitting in diners at 9 p.m. because they had nowhere else to go. "Where?" I asked. "The Sullivan Estate, 1247 Elmridge Drive." "I can send you the address. Shall we say 10 a.m.? I'll be there." "Excellent. Oh, and Mr. Turner, please dress professionally. This is quite an important meeting for Mr. Sullivan." After hanging up, I stared at my phone screen. The whole conversation felt surreal. Rich strangers didn't just call up failed contractors and offer them money for meetings. But then again, a week ago I wouldn't have believed I'd be sleeping in my car either. The address came through a few minutes later. I plugged it into my GPS and wasn't surprised to see it was in Millbrook Heights, where the houses started at $2 million and went up from there. I'd done work in that neighborhood a few times over the years. Big houses, bigger expectations, and clients who paid their bills on time because they could afford to. I finished my coffee and left a decent tip for the waitress. She deserved it for the kindness, and besides, if this meeting went well, I might not have to count every dollar tomorrow. The car was uncomfortable, but I'd slept in worse places. During my apprentice years, I'd worked some jobs where we'd sleep in the truck between shifts rather than waste time and money on hotels. This wasn't that different, except for the circumstances that had brought me here. I dozed off around midnight and woke up with the sunrise, stiff and sore but rested enough to function. My professional clothes were wrinkled from being stuffed in the suitcase, but I did my best to smooth them out. First impressions matter, especially when someone's offering you $500 for an hour of conversation. By morning, I was stiff, tired, and nervous about this mysterious meeting. I cleaned up as best I could in the diner's bathroom, combing my gray hair with water and splashing cold water on my face. The man in the mirror looked older than 58, worn down by months of stress and a night in a car. But he was still standing, still fighting, and that had to count for something. The Sullivan estate was everything I'd expected, and more. The gates alone probably cost more than most people's cars, with electronic locks and security cameras mounted on stone pillars. A voice came through the intercom before I could even announce myself. "Mr. Turner, please proceed to the main house." The driveway curved through what looked like a professionally maintained park. Ancient oak trees lined the path, their branches forming a canopy overhead that filtered the morning sunlight into golden patches on the asphalt. I'd worked on properties like this before, but usually through the service entrance, not the front drive. The house was massive, a colonial architecture masterpiece with modern touches that probably took years to plan and build. I estimated at least 15,000 square feet, sitting on grounds that seemed to stretch forever. Whoever Richard Sullivan was, he had serious money. I parked my Honda between a Mercedes and a BMW, feeling like I'd brought a bicycle to a car show. The cars were spotless, probably detailed every week whether they needed it or not. My Honda had coffee stains on the seats and 180,000 miles on the odometer, but it ran. And right now, that's all that mattered. Jeff Morrison met me at the front door. He was exactly what I'd pictured from his voice on the phone, tall, thin, perfectly dressed in a dark suit that probably cost more than my car. His gray hair was styled with the kind of precision that requires daily attention, and his handshake was firm but brief. "Mr. Turner, thank you for coming. Mr. Sullivan is waiting for you in his study." He led me through rooms that belonged in a museum. The hardwood floors gleamed like mirrors, reflecting oil paintings in heavy frames that lined the walls. Every piece of furniture looked handcrafted by someone who'd never worried about money. Persian rugs covered sections of the floor, and crystal chandeliers hung from ceilings so high they made you feel small just walking underneath them. The study was smaller than the other rooms, but somehow more impressive. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves filled with leather-bound volumes surrounded a massive mahogany desk that could have served as a dining table. Windows looked out over gardens that probably required a full-time staff to maintain. Richard Sullivan sat behind the desk in a wheelchair, and I could see immediately that Jeff hadn't been exaggerating about his health. He was thin to the point of being frail, his skin pale and papery, but his eyes were sharp and alert, studying me with an intensity that made me uncomfortable. "Ben Turner," he said, his voice stronger than his appearance suggested. "Please sit down." I took the chair across from his desk, my work boots looking out of place on his expensive rug. Everything in this room probably cost more than I'd made in a year, but he was treating me like an honored guest. "Thank you for coming," he continued. "I imagine you're wondering why I asked to see you." The thought had crossed my mind. He smiled, and for a moment something flickered in his expression. Recognition, maybe. Or sadness. It was gone too quickly for me to be sure. "Tell me, Ben, do you remember a rainy night 8 years ago, October 15th, to be exact? Route 12, just outside town." My blood went cold. I hadn't thought about that night in years, had tried not to think about it. But suddenly I was right back there, rain pounding on my windshield, the sharp curve coming up too fast, headlights in the wrong lane cutting through the darkness. "How do you know about that?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Richard leaned forward in his wheelchair, his pale hands folded on the desk between us. "Because, Ben, I was in the other car." The words hit me like a physical blow. That night came flooding back in vivid detail. The rain had been relentless, turning the roads into rivers. Route 12 was always dangerous in weather like that, with its sharp curves and steep drops, but I'd driven it 1,000 times. "The BMW that went through the guardrail," he continued quietly, "that was me. I'd been driving home from a commercial job, exhausted after a 14-hour day trying to finish an installation before the weekend. The client had been breathing down my neck all week, and I was behind schedule because of supply delays that weren't my fault. I should have gone home earlier, should have waited for the rain to let up. I was coming around the bend near Miller's Creek when I saw the headlights. They were in my lane, coming straight at me. The BMW was hydroplaning completely out of control, sliding sideways across the wet asphalt. You swerved, Richard said, watching my face carefully. You could have stayed in your lane. The impact would have been head-on, but I would have taken most of the damage because I was the one in the wrong position. Instead, you swerved right into the guardrail. I remembered that split-second decision. It wasn't really a decision at all, just pure instinct. See danger, avoid it. I yanked the wheel hard right, sending my truck into a skid that carried me straight into the metal barrier. The guardrail had held barely, but my truck was totaled. You went through the rail, I said, the memory becoming clearer with each detail. Down into the creek. 20 feet down, Richard confirmed. The car landed upside down in 4 feet of water. The impact knocked me unconscious, and when I came to, I was hanging upside down in my seatbelt with freezing water rising around me. After my truck had come to a stop, I'd sat there for a moment, dazed, checking to see if anything was broken. My airbag had deployed, leaving me with a bloody nose and ringing ears, but I could move everything. That's when I heard the splash from below and saw headlights pointing up through the rain like distress signals. You climbed down, Richard continued. The embankment was muddy, steep. You fell twice getting to the bottom, but you kept coming. The details were coming back now, sharp and clear. The BMW had been crumpled, like a tin can, driver's side down in the creek. Water was pouring in through the broken windows, and I could see someone inside unconscious and trapped. By the time I reached the car, it was filling with water fast. The door was jammed shut, twisted metal refusing to budge no matter how hard I pulled. I could see Richard inside, blood running from a gash on his forehead, completely unconscious with water rising around his chest. The passenger window was already cracked from the impact, I said softly. I broke it the rest of the way with a rock and cut my hands pulling you through the opening. Richard nodded, getting me up that embankment in the rain, unconscious dead weight. That couldn't have been easy for a man your size. It had been one of the hardest things I'd ever done physically. Richard was bigger than he looked now, and hauling him through mud and rocks while water streamed off both of us nearly broke my back. But you don't think about that when someone's life depends on you. The ambulance came, Richard said. You rode with me to the hospital, stayed until my wife arrived. The doctor said if I'd been in that water another few minutes, hypothermia would have killed me even if I hadn't drowned. I shifted uncomfortably in the expensive chair. Anyone would have done the same thing. Richard's laugh was bitter, would they? The police report said 3 other cars passed the scene before you arrived. 3 people who saw my headlights in the creek and kept driving because they didn't want to get involved. That hit me harder than I expected. I hadn't known about the other cars. Why didn't you ever contact me afterward? He asked. I thought about how to explain it. It wasn't my place. You were alive. Your family was there. I figured you had your own life to get back to, and I had mine. My own life, Richard repeated, something dark flickering across his features. Do you know what I was doing that night, Ben? Why I was driving in weather that should have kept any sensible person indoors. I shook my head. I was running away. From my wife, from my business, from everything I'd built. I'd just found out my company was about to be investigated for environmental violations that could have sent me to prison for 20 years. I was scared, panicked, and I was driving to the airport to catch the first flight to a country without extradition treaties. The room fell silent except for the steady ticking of an antique clock on the mantelpiece. The accident changed everything, Richard continued. While I was recovering, my lawyers found a way to clean up the mess. The investigation went away, charges were dropped. By the time I was back on my feet, I had a second chance at building something legitimate. He reached into his desk drawer and pulled out a thick manila folder. I built this empire because of that night, Ben, because you gave me the opportunity to make things right instead of running away like a coward. Sullivan Industries is worth $220 million today. I own manufacturing facilities in 4 states. All of it exists because you pulled me out of that creek. My head was spinning. I don't understand why you're telling me this. Richard opened the folder and spread several documents across his desk. Because I'm dying, Ben. Pancreatic cancer. The doctors give me 6 weeks, maybe 2 months. And before I go, I need to settle my debts. He pushed one of the documents toward me. It was covered in legal language, but I could make out dollar amounts with more zeros than I'd ever seen in one place. This is my will, he said. As of 3 days ago, you are the primary beneficiary of my estate. I stared at the paper, the words not making sense. That's impossible. You have a family. Richard's expression hardened. I have a son who calls me twice a year to ask for money to cover his gambling debts. I have a daughter who hasn't visited in 18 months but sends me birthday cards asking for loans. Neither of them was in that creek 8 years ago. I can't accept this. You don't have a choice. The papers are already filed. The lawyers have been paid. When I die, $220 million becomes yours, along with the business, this house, and everything else I own. Before I could object again, he pulled out another folder, this one with my name written on the tab. I've been keeping track of you, Ben. Periodic checks to make sure you were doing well, whether you needed anything. I know about your business. The lawsuit, losing your house. I know you went to your son for help yesterday. My stomach clenched. How could you possibly know that? He opened the file and pulled out several photographs, surveillance shots of me standing on Tim's doorstep, Amanda in the window, me walking back to my car looking defeated. I also know what they said to you. He reached for a small digital recorder and pressed play. Tim's voice filled the room crystal clear. Amanda and I are trying to build our professional image in the community. Having you stay here right now, with everything that's happened with your business, it wouldn't look good. Then Amanda's voice. We need to be careful about our family brand right now. Hearing it again was worse than living it the first time. The casual cruelty, the complete absence of family loyalty when it actually mattered. Richard clicked off the recorder. There's more. Conversations they had after you left about how relieved they were that you didn't push harder. How they'd been dreading this day for months. He pulled out another document with Tim's name at the top. Your son owes $28,000 in credit card debt. He and his wife have been living beyond their means for 3 years. Their mortgage is underwater, and they're 2 months behind on payments. How do you know all this? Money buys information. Ben, credit reports, bank records, surveillance equipment. It's amazing what people will do for the right price. His expression was grim. They're facing serious financial trouble. But Tim decided his career advancement was more important than helping his unemployed father. Richard died the following Thursday morning. I got the call from Jeff while having breakfast at the same diner where I'd answered that first mysterious phone call. The will reading happened exactly as Richard had predicted. His children got $100,000 each and looked at me like I'd stolen their birthright. Tim called within hours of the news breaking, suddenly eager to repair our relationship and celebrate my good fortune. I went to their dinner invitation one last time. They'd prepared an elaborate meal and practiced their apologies, but I'd also prepared something for them, 2 checks for $25,000 each and a recording of their private conversation planning my reconciliation. The looks on their faces when they heard their own voices revealed who they really were. No anger, no shouting, just a quiet goodbye and a permanent end to relationships built on obligation rather than love. 6 months later, I'm sitting on the porch of my new house by the lake, watching the sunset paint the water gold. I've kept Richard's businesses running with good managers, started volunteering with struggling contractors who remind me of myself not too long ago. I'm not angry anymore. Anger takes energy I'd rather spend on people who actually deserve it. I've found that being genuinely wealthy isn't about money. It's about having the freedom to choose who gets your time, your help, your love. Listen, friend, maybe you're watching this because you recognize something in Ben's story. Maybe you've got family members who see you as a problem to manage instead of a person to love. Maybe you're tired of being taken for granted by people who should have your back. Here's what 58 years of life taught me. You can't change people who don't want to change, but you can change how much power you give them over your happiness. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is walk away and let people face the consequences of their choices. Your real family, the people who'll be there when everything falls apart, they might not share your blood, but they'll share your values. And that matters more than any inheritance could ever buy.